Hi, I'm James, and in this video I'm going to be sharing part 2 of the student survey results that they left me on their final day of class, which happened to be finals this past school year. If you didn't check out the first video, I will leave a link down below in the description section or a link right here in case you're interested in checking that out. And I should also mention that I have some students who are English language learners, so if you're wondering about some of the writing that I'm displaying on the screen, that perhaps is a reason why. So let me go ahead and get started. I feel like you made it easy, but I wish you made more videos. I learned better that way. So here's a student who thought I made the class easy for him or her, but they wanted more videos. And while I wanted to make more videos, unfortunately there's not enough time in the day, and I just had other things going on that just unfortunately I wasn't able to get to that. And I should also clarify, while I shared a lot of cool feedback in the previous video, very few students disliked the whole, learning on the computer. There were students who liked learning on the computer only, and then a majority of the students liked a, no pun intended, a blended learning experience. So with me teaching at the document camera, them on the computer, there were some instances where I felt I did that really well, and then there were other instances where I needed a little bit more work. And that's why I'm excited about time during the summer right now, because I've been building that right now with the other pre-AP chemistry teacher. I went to a training last week that helped me envision a little bit more in detail how I can accomplish that. So I'm excited for next school year, and hopefully I can get more videos to help students like this particular one who feel they learn better that way. I think you did great as a teacher. Yes, your class was one of my hardest classes, but you grew on being flexible and considerate about most of the assignments, and that truly helped. The little jokes helped lighten up the mood in the classroom. The only thing I had issue with you and your class was in the beginning of the year, felt like you had a little excessive amount of attitude, but that slowly went away when you got to know us as students. Thanks for being my favorite teacher, Mr. Lies, smiley face. So, if you watched any of my vlogs, followed me all this time, even watched my anxiety video, then you'll know that anxiety has been part of my life since I was a child, and one of my coping mechanisms, at least in the world of education, being a teacher, was to be organized and structured, mainly because that helped bring my anxiety down, but then also from a classroom management perspective, that helped me manage the students, especially having taught most of my career at Title I campuses, where one campus was almost shut down, so it's particularly rough. However, those skills and strategies that I utilized, the organization and sometimes like the control in terms of where like the students sat and who they worked with, helped me. However, my goal this year was to relieve some of that, and I think as a student mentioned in their feedback to me, that I sort of relaxed as the year progressed and I got to know the students. However, in the beginning of the year, I still smile and I tell jokes, but I'm very structured. Like, when you come in, this is what you do. I train the students to go to places or do what I want them to do, so that way it's just a smooth flow when class begins. I probably could be a little bit more warmer, I guess, if you will. Smile more, I don't know, tell more jokes. One of the things, and I'm going to leave this for one of the comments later on, is I want to do more one-on-one with the students. But yeah, maybe I need to reflect a little bit more about my little attitude that perhaps the students were perceiving, or this particular student was perceiving, because I definitely don't intend to come off that way. I just have these structures in place at the very beginning of the school year, and then I begin to lighten up a little bit more. I definitely don't ever want to fall back into the mistake that I made my first year of teaching, because I was a little bit too friendly with the students, and that bit me in the behind. I think any new teacher who has experienced that, and if you're a new teacher watching this, or you're embarking on your new teacher career, yeah, I made the mistake where especially the male students, they wanted to hey bro, and they talk to me in that manner, and it didn't help that I looked like one of the students, and I still, although I have a little gray in my hair now, sometimes get mistaken as a student in my own class. And so I definitely don't want to fall into the mistake that I did my very first year of teaching, where students were talking to me like I was their friend, their brother, or relative. I don't want that to happen. I can still have the students enjoy the class and like me as a person without going that far. But yes, I'm definitely going to take that into consideration so that way I'm not. And I feel like I worked on that this year with releasing control of the class, allowing students to work individually with whoever they wanted to, sit where they wanted in terms of flexible seating for the most part. And so I'm excited about what that will look like for next school year. I really enjoyed the mix of on-paper and online work we had. It was a bit tedious having to deal with technical difficulties via Blend, but overall the implementation of Blend really helped so I could learn at my own pace from home. I strongly disliked the labs. Excluding the lemon one, I never really got anything helpful out of the labs. Most of the times, it felt just like we were doing dreadful step-by-step activities. As a teacher, I respect your commitment to your classroom, and I believe that you are great at what you do. Thank you. So here I have a student who enjoyed the online learning because he or she felt that they could get ahead, especially at home. I do agree with the student about the lab component piece, and I mentioned this also in another vlog. So when I left teaching the first go around, I would do a whole bunch of labs in the fall, and we would oftentimes repeat them, do them either in that same period or come back to them again at some point. So that way the students were able to connect, because earlier in the year I had mentioned the fact that even when I was a student, I would just, and the students would cognitively focus on just getting through the lab, that they weren't really paying attention to the science that was going on. They were just trying to get through. And unfortunately, that happened this school year because we just did labs, and while I had like post-lab questions, it wasn't designed in the way that I had hoped it to be in order to get the students to connect the lab experience to the concepts that we were doing. So that's my fault. And then in the spring, normally what I would have done was, since they've had all the lab experience in the fall, then we would do guided inquiry to full-on inquiry. And the lemon activity that this particular student is talking about, that's the one that the Home Depot had sponsored me, and they had purchased all the materials in order for us to do the lab. That was a guided inquiry lab, but the way I structured that activity from some of the other labs that I did is I pre-taught a little bit of it, then the students went into it so they have some background knowledge, but they didn't have any instructions beyond what I told them they needed to do to light up the LED, and they did that, and then I came back and we still connected it back. And through the course of the weeks after that, I still, hey, remember the lemon activity and all these things. So I definitely want to do that next school year, do a better job, because I did not do a great job this school year in terms of us repeating labs more than once, and then helping students make that connection between the concept and the lab, the science that was going on in the lab. I really enjoyed your way of teaching, although it's my fault that I may have done bad this semester. So here I have a student who I guess is blaming themselves for their behavior or their performance in the class, but also it's my fault because one of my goals was to do some conferencing with students, and I didn't do that at all this school year. I had given them this progress tracking sheet, and even that wasn't effective. Like, I've never done just sit down with students, say, we're gonna do one-on-one conferencing. Like, I've pulled students to ask them questions one-on-one about the content, but I've never sat down with them and said, let's look at the goals. Where do you feel you're at in regard to meeting this particular, objective, this learning target? Do you feel you're okay? You need a little bit more help? And what are your next steps? Like, I want to hear from you what you think you should do in order to help you meet that target if you're telling me that you're struggling. So I need to build that in. I didn't do that at all next year. However, I am building that into my pacing calendar this school year, so that way I'm deliberately, even if in the beginning, like, I have to force myself to do these things, because again, naturally, I've never built in time to sit with students in conference. I think if I build it into my pacing guide, that will help me build in time to meet with students one-on-one to help them track their goals and self-assess where they're at in the course. I think that most students feel kind of shy or just don't think about getting the help they need. In my opinion, the teaching was great, but maybe just try to engage more with the students. Ask them if they want one-on-one learning. Some students learn better themselves than in groups. So yeah, the student's definitely right. Students are shy. Again, even from my own experience as a student, I had the anxiety, so I would just normally just sit there quietly. And I definitely need to, and I think this is where the one-on-one conferencing comes in. So part of my response to this was also back to the last comment I made. Part of me being able to help students determine whether or not they need help is through the one-on-one conferencing. Having them tell me where they think they're at, and then me also kind of chiming in to kind of let them know my perspective as well. I'm a little bit confused about like students learn better by themselves and in groups, because I always gave my students the option of working individually, or they can work with no more than 3 other people, so there could be no more than 4 people per group. And I got really great about doing that after like the first 2 weeks when we did, actually the very first day when we did the learning stations and the lab safety and equipment learning stations activity. I was like, I don't care who you work with, you can choose your own thing. So compared to years past when I've taught, I would always like, you all are gonna go work here, this is your group, this is where you sit. This year I was very like, I don't care who you work with. Maybe I need to like write that in the instructions versus just saying it. Maybe some of the students need to see that in case they weren't clear. So definitely something for me to consider for next school year. You're a great teacher. It's us, the ones that need to improve. This one goes back to the early comment that I made. So yeah, again, it goes back to, yes, students need to take accountability for their actions, but as a teacher, sitting down with them one-on-one and helping them see where they're at is a goal that I want to achieve for next school year. And I think I can help them learn how to improve and help them with that skill, because that's going to be a skill that they'll need beyond my class when they have a job or a relationship, you know, self-reflecting on, you know, their behaviors. I feel like when we got to work at our own pace, I can get more done faster. I don't like the new 1 through 4 grading system. I like the stations, but I feel like we never really had enough time to finish it. If we actually did, it would be rushed, seeing that some can't stay after school to finish them. I liked a mixture of the live videos and work at your own pace with Tyler DeWitt and a few labs here and there. So here's another student who liked the videos, going at their own pace, being able to work faster. Didn't like the standards-based grading scale 1 through 4. Don't blame the student. Again, that was a little rocky towards the end of the school year. Didn't really have too much experience with that, and it was just me developing the skill by myself. As far as the stations go, that just depended on where the student was at. So I would give them, in the fall semester, we did like 6, 7, maybe even 8 of the learning stations. And we would have, depending on the station, a whole class period, sometimes a period and a half. So, and if this is your first time watching my videos, we're on block schedule, so 85 to 90 minute periods. So students that didn't usually have enough time, they usually missed a day, and they came in during like that half portion where I gave them time to finish. And if they didn't finish, then they had to come outside of class. So before school, after school, during lunch, during our advisory period. One of the modifications that I am going to make is the writing component. So there was a writing station. There were some students who went straight to the writing station first, and while I got a lot of great writing products from these students, oftentimes they would stay there for a majority of the period, like writing these beautiful like 1 to 2 page papers with like comics, etc. But that ate up a majority of their time at the other station, so then they would end up falling behind. So next school year, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use those writing prompts as part of my interactive notebook series versus embedding them in the station. So I'm going to have that like as an extension, like enrichment activity, and then sometimes interactive notebook activity. I really like the way you teach us in class because I think that it helped me to be more responsible and pay more attention to the class. So here I have a student who again likes, I'm assuming they're talking about the videos because they're talking about being held more responsible for that, which again, perhaps I need to do a better job, because I think students who maybe didn't like the online videos just didn't know how to pace themselves. Sorry if you hear weird noises, those are my dogs. They just didn't know how to pace themselves, and if they didn't finish anything in class, they had to go home and finish it. And I should have scaffolded that process a little bit better. Again, last year was my first year attempting this whole blended thing, and so I have a better idea of how it will work for next school year. But here I have a student who says that they enjoyed it because it made them pay more attention in class. I want to say thank you for being a good teacher. I hope I passed your class. This student had nothing to worry about. This student was going to pass my class regardless of whether he or she failed the final. And well, thank you for being a student in my class. I don't know what else more I can say with that. Overall, you're one of the best teachers in school. You expand and go in depth in a topic. So I'm laughing at this comment because if you watched the last video, I had a comment that was the opposite. That said I didn't go into depth on certain topics and I needed to expand a little bit more. So here I have a student telling me that I do expand and go into to death with a topic. So, I mean, you can't win or lose no matter what you do. Not that it's ever really about that, but I've already started strategizing for how I can perhaps help students who want a more deeper explanation. So I've been building that through the Canvas course for next school year. It was an honor working in your class, by far the most difficult class I ever had in all of my years. No, it was an honor having this group of pre-AP chemistry students. It's my first group of chemistry students in over 7 years. I know beyond just, you know, the Canvas issues, technical difficulties, the blended learning experiences, some good, some bad, the standards-based grading, a whole bunch of other things. You know, I think overall the students got a good chemistry education. It's not what I would have hoped for if I had taught chemistry last year, because I feel that I would have had time to build the curriculum and work stuff out to give this group of students a better experience. I even taught more my first year of chemistry, although I don't know if it was of high quality compared to this year. With that said, I can't dwell on that. I know that I put a lot of effort and time into it, and I think that's what's important, as well as taking, you know, my reflections and the feedback that I got from the students and applying it to the development of my course for next school year. Because if I keep making the same mistakes, then obviously I didn't learn anything, and the student comments were pointless at that point. So I definitely learned a lot, and I'm excited about next school year and how that will go. So if you watched all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much. If you have any questions, leave that down in the comment section below, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye. Well, that's it. If there was anything about this video that you liked, then make sure to hit that like button, comment down below, and or share the video. If you haven't already done so, make sure to subscribe so that way you can bond with James. And if you're interested in checking out some of my other vlogs, you can do so by clicking on any of the links right here. As always, thanks for watching.